Clayton, you hear the phrase, especially on defense, bend but don't break philosophy a lot. What do you think of that philosophy, and do you think that the Vanderbilt game was kind of an example of that? Because the rush D could have been better, but you guys had a lot of big plays.
We don't really talk about bend, don't break. You really just never want to bend, you know what I mean? So really, but so obviously when they get in those situations where they are moving the ball, teams are going to move the ball, but your ultimate goal is to keep as many points as you can off the board and get the ball back to the offense as many times as possible.
Clayton, both Missouri and Vanderbilt did have some success on the ground with you guys. As you break down the film, what have been some of the biggest issues maybe in rush defense, and how do you go about improving that going to Florida?
Yeah, I mean, that's a weekly thing that we try and do. Breaking down those two games, obviously it was a lot of perimeter runs and missed tackles on, I think we had 5 missed tackles in the Missouri game. We had 12 last week, 12 or 13 last week. If a DB misses a tackle, a lot of time those are going to be big plays. So we're going to do a great job of knocking it down up on the back end, and linebackers have to be more aggressive and fitting and helping the D-line, taking the double teams off. It's always more than one person and one thing that leads up to rushing yards getting to the total that they were, especially at Vanderbilt.
How do you, I guess, grade a game or look at a game like that when you kind of have both ends of the spectrum of, 4 turnovers, but, some long drives that are probably pretty frustrating?
Well, the long drives, a lot of times, I tell people, they might have heard me say it, that yards don't equals points, and so that's the mindset that we talk about as far as that's a little bit more on the bend, don't break mindset. But they hear me yell all the time, yards don't equals points. Now, do you want the yards to be low? Absolutely, but the ultimate stat in football, there's multiple ways you can win football games, but the number one way is to have more points than the other team. And that's really the focus. If you're really focusing on the team, you definitely want to keep, as a defensive guy, me being a defense coordinator in the SEC, I want the yards and the scores the lowest possible. But if sometimes it's not going to happen. But if we win the football game, you have to walk away and celebrate it, especially in this league. I'm learning for sure.
You've got a lot of kind of mixing and matching right now in your secondary. What goes into getting a player ready to kind of play more than one position in the same week? We saw that on offense with Cheem this week, but how do you kind of do that on defense?
Well, we've been trying our best not to move a lot of guys around in regards to playing 2 positions. That kind of hurt us early in the season when we kind of moved a couple guys to a new position the week of the game, and it was hard on the coaches and the players. So now we're just trying to put them in the best play, in the best spot for the week, and just learn that position that week. But it takes a lot of meetings, a lot of talking, a lot of communicating, because you may go out and play safety this week and you never played it before. It's going to be 45 plays that you've never seen or had a chance to react to. So that's what makes it really hard, to be honest with you. That's just that position that happens up front as a linebacker as well.
Clayton in the secondary, I think you guys played 8 or 9 different defensive backs last week. I mean, what did you kind of see from that group and having to shuffle all those guys around? And I guess how did you kind of at least grade out their week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of those guys. Like I said, you said 8 or 9 dudes, and just trying to make sure we have guys on the field at all times that practice and understand the defense, and more importantly, understand the offense that you're going to face. Like that, those are 2 different worlds that you have to learn. You have to learn our stuff, and you have to learn what you're going to get, and you have to really expect something that you haven't seen. Which this is high-level football, high-level coaches. That's going to happen every Saturday, and I think that I'm more proud of just how we finished the game. Those guys touched the ball. DQ Smith got a sack fumble, which is big. At the timing of that. I think that O'Donnell had an interception and a forced fumble. So I love seeing those guys come in and make plays whenever we need it.
Clayton, this late in the season, game films out there. Guys have scouted your tendencies, maybe saying, maybe run at that guy because he's not the best, whatever. What can you do as a coordinator to kind of throw that off? Do you use more shifts? Do you use more rotation? How do you kind of throw them off of what's on tape?
Right now, we're in a situation where, you can throw teams off, but you got to do what you do. You can't really try to change your defense right now, but you can definitely wrinkle some things up. You can do some things. You can secure some things a little bit better. You can also show different things and help yourself. Right now, we try our best to play team defense every single snap, and we don't think we have a player that's to that caliber. We won't say we're going to attack him or you, or we feel like we're strong in all the areas, have a lot of confidence in our guys. But as a coordinator, my job is to make sure that we're not showing our hand every single play.
Clayton, with so many guys mixing and matching in the secondary, is it harder to disguise coverages with guys coming in that maybe aren't as experienced as some others?
Yes, because disguising coverages, sometimes you have to be an expert of knowing what's going on. You know what I mean? In regards of you have to been there for a long time to know the strengths and weaknesses of the coverage and basically the flip side of the coverage, or the dog or the pressure or the front. So not just the coverages, but on the back end, particularly, we're playing some new guys and young guys, and so you don't want to confuse the kids. You can get them confused by they show this and do that, and then he thinks he saw something else, and then you start hearing the word I thought that this we're gonna look not like a ball club. So, but yes, it's hard.
And we've made it this far without asking about Anthony Richardson. I guess how big of a challenge is he, and how do you go about trying to stop that kind of guy?
I think he's one of the top athletes that we've seen on tape in regards of run, pass, throwing, size, strength, speed, which obviously those are things that you can't hide. It's on the tape. It's all over the place. But, just watching him, we didn't get a chance to play against him last year, but I studied his film last year. Like I said, I think I said it earlier about a quarterback. I think it was the quarterback from Kentucky. When I see a player improving his game and improving his maturation, just how he plays his position, I respect that highly as a football player and football guy. So he's definitely improving. He's definitely a challenge for anybody who he plays against.
Just curious about your general thoughts about what they do on offense, obviously centered around him, but their scheme, philosophy, and all that. What's sort of your, I guess, take on what they do and maybe how it compares to what you guys have seen so far?
Yeah, I think, just being around football for as long as I've been around football, we all know that the Gators never short of talent, you know what I mean? So they've always had talent, and so they still have it. Their scheme is a very prolific, kind of a shift and trade motion scheme where they can confuse you, and they use his strength to his advantage. I mean, he can throw the football 70, 80 yards, and he can run. So, I mean, they have really good backs. They have big, tall receivers on the big O-line. That's a very balanced offense, I think, and just from watching them, and they definitely present a lot of challenges, and, we got to go out there and be where we're supposed to be and play our game, play our style of play, and be attacking and make sure that we're bringing it.
Clayton, cold weather, flus and colds. I think Cam Smith was kind of beat up, maybe B.J. Gibson too. How is that particular situation with the defense? I mean, you got the flu running around, maybe that DB room or anything?
I can't answer those kind of questions because I can't answer that question. I feel good. I know that. So I'm washing my hands, and I'm not bringing the mask back out, but definitely washing my hands.
Just want to ask you about a few of the freshmen who haven't really played much, how they're coming along, Weiss and Hickson and Martin along the defensive line. If you could touch on what you've seen from them this fall and their growth on the scout team individually.
Yep, I haven't had – I glanced at their tape on the scout team, but I've definitely heard from the offensive coaches that those guys are giving them a good wall up front and they're getting better. Coach Beamer is the ultimate challenger. He challenged everybody in this building every single day, which is great. He gave the defensive line a challenge, the scout D-line a challenge 2 weeks ago, and those guys I think they've answered it based upon the responses, but I'm proud of how big they are. They are doing what Luke Day and Kristen Coggin in nutrition and Clinton Haggard in the athletic training room, those guys are doing what they're supposed to do, and they're doing a great job academically. So you just continue doing that as a player, it's only going to you'll reap the dividends later. But they're doing great, though. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.